So I just want to talk about how the sun is out, the sun is shining. Oh, it's such a beautiful day. So sitting in a park podcasting is exactly what I want to be doing. But yes, eating what's on your plate. This episode is randomly inspired by the Doechii song Wait. I was getting my nails done a few days ago and it came on the shuffle. And, it's vibing, it's a good beat, it's a great song overall. But the line, you should just see what's on your plate, kind of stuck with me. Like, it has been ringing in my head for the past few days. And what that means in different areas of life and in different ways. And so what I initially thought about it is that is such a common phrase. Like, you put on your plate, I feel like it's something that I've definitely heard before, but never actually processed and digested. And so that's what I've been doing for the past few days. Right. So I've been thinking a lot about that and what that means. And for me personally, I think I get too excited / anxious about the future and about what's next and how do I prepare myself for what's next without realizing that there's a lot happening at this current moment that needs my attention. And so let's work with this metaphor for a second. So you're given a plate. You're given a plate full of food, full of delicious food, full of, nutritious food, things that you need to eat. Maybe you don't necessarily want to eat it, but it's things that are good for your body and nourish your body and nourish your soul. And someone made it, like handmade it with love and is handing it to you. And it's right in front of you. Maybe you had a few bites, but it's not really what you want right now. It's not what you're in the mood for right now. But you see something across the room. You see a dessert cart across the room, and you're ready to move on to the next course. You're ready to move on to dessert. You're excited for dessert. And then let's say you skip to that course. You get the thing that you've been looking at. I'm dubbing over this because I was not making any sense. But I was trying to say that you look back and you realize that you've missed the experience. There was an entire experience that you've missed out on because you spent the entire time focusing on what was coming at the end. And it was going to come regardless. That is the point that I'm trying to make here. I have things right now that need my attention, but I'm so focused on building a future. I'm so focused on getting to the next chapter of my life, making sure that happens and making sure that I'm setting myself up for success in the future, which is important, yes. But that has made my present seem so dull. And so the mindset shift of actually taking the time to appreciate what is right in front of you, what is being given to you right now, and maybe even trying to find meaning and joy and in the experiences that we're having right now. And so I feel like a lot of people are looking for meaning in life, looking for purpose, and they think that meaning and purpose and success and fulfillment is attached to these major life events, these major goals that you're trying to accomplish, or these major things that feel really, really big. But I think that just in trying to sit with where I am now and sit with what the plate that's in front of me, sit with what has been given to me, with the cards that I've been dealt, and trying to find meaning and purpose in these small moments, in these small interactions, has kind of, I don't know how else to describe it except for has kind of brightened my life and brightened my mind and my days, and things that I used to completely overlook or ignore that I didn't even notice before are now things that I can take a step back and appreciate from the outside, or really I can learn lessons from things. I'm looking at some things as practice. A lot of life I'm learning is just preparation. And if you start to enjoy the process of growth and enjoy the process of preparation and look at every moment, every breath you breathe as an opportunity, I think there's fulfillment just in that. This idea of fulfillment that seems so unattainable for a lot of people, or we don't really know what it means. I was talking to some coworkers recently, and one person brought up, I think it was an interview that they had seen. I think it was John Mayer, but don't quote me on that. But they were talking about how he was saying that success is a thing that nobody can really define, but I kind of want to take that and twist it to say that success is something that has to be defined individually. Like, my success and your success do not look the same, and my success today doesn't look the same as what my success will look like in 10 years. And so it is this thing that kind of ebbs and flows, and sometimes it's a really big milestone, sometimes it's just getting out of bed, and everything in between. Success is like this overarching thing that's a little hard to measure, but we try to measure it with money and power and fame and things and how many countries have you been to, and we're all trying to fit our success into this bubble of what we think success is, right? And so instead of taking a step back from that and determining what does success look like for me individually as a person in this moment right now. Obviously, we have long-term goals, we have big goals, but what does success look like right now in this moment? Again, going back to eating what's on your plate, right? I'm being given this plate of things, and maybe my goal just in that moment is to finish what is on my plate, or go through my plate and determine what I want to finish and what I don't want to finish and what I don't need anymore. And looking at what is in front of me right now and eating, I'm going back and forth between the metaphor, but eating what's in front of me right now until I am satisfied, instead of waiting for a course that hasn't even come yet to fulfill me, when I haven't even gotten there yet, that hasn't even entered my world yet, and I already think that I need that in order to feel fulfilled, right? Fulfillment for me has started to feel a lot more attainable, and I started to understand it a little better when I looked at where I am right now and looked at the things in my life right now, and I said, how can I make the most out of what is here in front of me right now? How can I use what I have in front of me right now to start creating a life that I want to live, instead of waiting for something that's not in my life yet to fulfill me? I can take what I have here and make fulfillment and make success with what I have, and find meaning in the things that I have, and find purpose in the things that I have. I know it's easier said than done, and it takes work, and that's the thing about all of this. It takes work and it takes time, and if you really, really, really are committed to it, and you have this much faith, even smaller, if you have this much faith and this much belief in yourself, incredible things can happen. It sounds so cliche, and like I roll my eyes because Melanie 6 months ago would have rolled her eyes at what Melanie now is saying. If you just believe in change and believe in the power that we all have innately, like that's just a fact. We all have individual power. We have the power to create, and we have the power to change, and it's all in here, and it all starts with just believing that things can change. But once you realize how powerful you are, it opens a door to just peace. Before I started really heavily thinking about any of this, and I really started like actively like doing the work to try to change my life around, I felt peace. I felt peace. It didn't really make sense. I didn't know why I was at a state of such peace, but my first phase was peace, and I'm now transitioning into a space of, awakening, I guess you can say. And that's what this is. This is just me documenting everything that I'm discovering right now about myself and about the world and how I feel about it and my relationship to the world and everything, in hopes that it can be a trail for other people to do the same thing. Because I just look around, and what used to be such bitterness towards the world and other people that I didn't understand is now I see power. I see power in everyone. I see potential. I see opportunity in everyone. And all I want to do with my life and with my work is help people realize that they have the exact same power that can change their life. And also, on top of that, they are the only ones that can do it. Nobody can change your life for you. Nobody can force you to believe or to eat what's on your plate right now. You have to want to. People can give you advice and tell you their stories and their experiences all day long. You have to want to. And I know that firsthand. You have to make the decision, because everything that I'm talking about and discovering is not new information. It's not revolutionary in any way, and I recognize that. But the difference and why it's affecting me so differently now is because now I want to. And this is also another point that I thought about, actually. I'm glad I remembered, is that going back to the plate metaphor, nobody can force you to eat what's on the plate and force you to understand why it's important. And sometimes you will never understand. There's some things in life that you just will not understand why you have to go through that, or why things aren't working out the way that you want them to work out. And you're like, my life would just be so much better if I was this and this. I've said that so many times in my life, and every time I got the thing that I thought would make my life better, I just had the same problems in a different situation. It was never enough. And so it may be confusing and hard to understand why certain things are happening to you. And people can tell you all of the cliche things like, focus on the now, think positive thoughts, don't let, anxiety control your life. Like all of the mantras that we hear, they're great. You have to keep putting them out there because it'll catch somebody right when they need to hear it, and right when they have the capacity to understand it. It will. So we should keep doing it. But on the other side of it, you can hear it as much as you want. They can tell you as much as they want, but until you are actually ready to receive it, it's not going to click. So you can't even be in that next phase of your life until you are ready to receive it, until what was just on your plate has digested and you're ready for that next course. Why are you trying to rush and move on to a next course when you're still full from the course that you just had? You're not even going to be able to fully enjoy the dessert when your stomach is like busting open because you're so full. And it's not going anywhere. That's another thing. Sometimes people eat so fast because they're afraid their food's going to get taken away. Your future, your next step, your next phase is not going anywhere because it doesn't belong to anybody else except for you. It's going to wait for you. It's going to wait for you, and it reheats beautifully. So if you're not ready when you think you should be ready, that is perfectly okay. This also ties into an idea that I had a while ago about time, and how time, people say time is a social construct. It like quite literally is. It's just this thing that was created so we could have some sort of organization here. And I thought about how divine timing just doesn't probably work the way that at least I thought it worked. Again, this is probably not revolutionary information. I thought about how there's not a certain age or a certain time for anything to happen, I think, when it comes to the spiritual realm. I think that it matches where we are, talking about balance, balance in the universe. And so nothing can be unbalanced. That's also just like a fact, right? And so the end goal, or the next goal, or the next chapter, the next phase of your life that you want so badly to come to you, and you think, I need to hit this by 20 years old, I need to hit this by 30 years old, I need to hit this by 25 years old, I need to hit this by 50 years old. The years and the age don't matter as much as where are you spiritually and mentally, and what are you attracting in that time. I'm coming in on the voiceover again. What I'm trying to say is that these man-made time barriers that we've put on ourselves, such as, having a job by the time you graduate college, knowing what you want to do at 18 years old, which is crazy, being married by a certain age, owning a house at a certain age, doesn't necessarily line up with you being actually ready to take these things on, which is a process that will and can take as long as it needs to take. Like, there is no clock on it. Your reality is going to match where you are spiritually and mentally, and what you are ready to steward and receive, which might not necessarily match the timeline that you feel like you need to have in a physical sense. And so, for example, there was a lot that I thought I had accomplished by the time I hit 21. And last year, I can't even describe it as anything else except for it was stagnant. From January 1st to December 31st, I felt like I had not taken a single step forward. But what I realized towards the end of the year, in the last few weeks, when I took some time off from work and I was home with my family and I just really had time, I had nothing but time to think. What I realized was that I guess I needed time in the dark, just like this stifled, muted cage is what I felt like my mind was. Like, I just needed time so in myself and to realize what I actually wanted to do. I realized that I needed to create this, basically. I needed to go through that so I can now have the voice and the mind and the opinions that I have now. I was conflicted in myself because I decided at a young age, a very, very young age, that I was never gonna change myself or conform to anything. Anyone that knows me personally knows that I actually detest labels. For myself specifically, I think that people have found comfort and community by labeling themselves, whether it's their sexuality or their aesthetic / brand, which has become a big thing recently, or as an artist, like labeling the type of artist I am, labeling the type of music that I write. And I just hated labels my entire life, even before I realized that I hated labels. My core is the same, obviously, but I express myself in different ways. I find joy in expressing myself in different ways. And I'm in no rush to figure any of it out. If I do have an answer, if I do find an answer, it can change the next day. And so I just have found freedom and comfort, and my comfort actually, in not putting myself in a box. And as soon as I decided to embrace that, that's when my success in the industry started to decline. which is really interesting. But I also knew that I would never forgive myself if I didn't stay true to myself, and if I conformed to something in order to, chase the bag, or to find this idea of success that, didn't feel fulfilling. Like, in theory, I was successful, but I wasn't fulfilled, and that was confusing because I was doing everything right, everything was falling into place, and then as soon as I got comfortable in that, I was like, let me begin to really take this as an opportunity to reintroduce myself as the person that I want to be. And then that boom, just almost felt like it immediately crashed. And so I realized late last year, I was like, I am this person that I really like, actually. And that was the defining moment for me, is that I like how I feel when I'm like this, when I'm fully expressing myself and I'm speaking what's on my mind, and I kind of ebb and flow and I change, and I've learned to love my mind, but then I would turn it off around certain people and in certain situations because I didn't feel accepted there. And to me, I was just like, why do I care? I mean, I know that's more rhetorical, like, figuring out why it bothered me so much. And also, why would I want to put myself in that position? And so these are questions that I sat with. How do I like who I am so much, but I'm so afraid to introduce this side of me to people? Not this side of me, introduce who I am to people. And so that was kind of the shift that took place in terms of me deciding on redefining my definition of success, and what does success look like to me, and how do I achieve that. And that, for one, starts with baby steps. I told myself this year that if I release my EP this year, and if I have my show this year, that to me is a successful year. But why am I measuring myself against other people who maybe are further along in their careers than I am, or maybe have accomplished more, or have more connections, or have better set in stone plans? Or was something that also made me kind of feel insecure is, like, I hate when people ask about genres, because I don't know, and I actually don't want to know what, my genre, my sound, my writing. I just write what I feel, and all of my songs are different. They sound different, but they come together thematically, and that's always how I've made art. But then, sometimes I feel a little insecure explaining that to other artists who are so certain in, I do funk, I do jazz, and I do, and so, because I felt like I didn't really have it as together, if I'm being honest. And so that was also kind of a setback for me. But then again, I sat with myself in this department, and I realized I actually really love the way that I write. I love how free I am. I love that I'm capable of writing and performing in any style that feels right to me in that moment. So why do I feel so insecure about that when I'm amongst others? And these are just questions that don't really have answers, but things that have kind of slowly begun to change how I move through the world for the better. And so I have been sitting with that, and sitting with, embracing my authenticity, even when it feels hard and it feels scary, and embracing that my goals look so much different than other people's goals, and having to sit with the fact that me working in my most authentic way may not bring that commercial success that we are taught to strive for. Now, this kind of ties into another topic that I think has to be its own episode. So this is like a little teaser of like what we'll talk about there, but just talking about how much we are taught to strive for wealth and how that has affected us as a society, as a people, and affected our minds and stifled our creativity. I really do believe that if we all redefined that success and detached it from financial wealth, I think it is important that people are financially secure, which is a whole other thing about how that's become inaccessible. That's a whole other thing. But detaching wealth from success, because they're not the same thing. But I think literally from the moment we are able to form thoughts, we are told that we need to get money in any way, like to help our family, get a good stable job with benefits, and I know it all comes from places of love, because people want what's best for you, and we do live in a world where that is how you have privilege and a good quality life. But I think it sucks out all expression. It stops people from doing what they were put on this earth to do. It stops people from even searching for what they're passionate about, which I think devalues life. And so that's a whole other episode, a whole topic of money, that and how it is a good thing, but it's a bad thing, and it's a thing that is a thing that needs to be talked about. So I will talk about that at some point. But I guess that would be a kind of a good continuation from this podcast about, focusing on what you have and finding success and fulfillment in what you have when you don't have money, and when you're not where you need to be, whether that is financially or career-wise or romantically or personally, or in your platonic relationships, in your familial relationships. It all comes down to the moment you are sitting in right now is a moment that I believe deserves the attention that you are giving this future that hasn't happened yet. I also think where we can get into trouble is planning a future so concrete that you could be met with disappointment when you get there and it doesn't look like how you wanted it to look. Now, I'm not saying don't plan. I'm not saying don't strive. But what I am saying is be open-minded and leave room for things to look a little bit differently. And I think that the perfect way to practice that is seeing where you are right now, taking where you are right in this moment, and making the best out of every breath you are given, every moment you are given. Every conversation that you have is an opportunity. I'm going to say it is an opportunity to love, which is what I try to live by, but I understand that that's a little cliche for a lot of minds, but every conversation is an opportunity. Every moment you have by yourself is an opportunity to grow. Every day is an opportunity to create some sort of positive change, whether it's in your life or whether it's for someone else. And so when the future doesn't look like how you expected it to look or how you want it to look, you already have that muscle of taking whatever you're given and making the best out of it. So even if you can't find purpose in that moment, the purpose may just be you're being taught to find fulfillment in what you are given, because we deserve to live peaceful, fulfilling, joyous lives that are full of love. That is a human right at the bare minimum. Like, some people don't like to talk about other things. I could talk about plenty of other things that are human rights that are not accessible, but at the very, very, very bare minimum. And I feel like nobody can argue about that because, it's literally like an amendment. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is literally every man's human right. And when I say man, I don't mean men, I mean like man as in humans. So these are basic human rights that I thought a long time ago decided were something that everybody deserves. And I do truly believe that we all deserve to live a life that's beneficial to us all and to us as a collective. And there is a way to do it. We just got to put our egos aside. We got to put our pride aside. We have to look inward. And there is a way to find harmony in where we are right now while trying our best to build a better future. I do really, really believe that. And so that's all I have to say right now. Thank you if you're watching this, and I hope you found something that, will be bouncing around in your brain for a little bit. That's all I really want. And we're entering spring, guys. It's really nice, so enjoy the sun. Go outside, touch grass. Thank you.